3, 2, 1. Joshua Noom,
Hey,
thanks for joining, dude. How are you doing?
yeah, absolutely, man. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it. All the above.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Have you been busy?
yeah. It's been a wild few months for sure. I kind of had a bit of a wave where I just was like, you know what, for this period of time, I'm just gonna go a bit ham and take on as much as I can and see what we can get done before summer, and then try chill a little bit with the family over summer. So, yeah, it's been a bit busy.
It's been incredible to see the work that you've made. Specifically, the Bible. It was not Bible Gateway. It was Crossway, right?
Yeah, Crossway.
Crossway did an artist series, and you did their cover, and I'll post a picture of it in the comments. But it's absolutely incredible. I'll post it in the video. But yeah, I have that in my cart right now, and it's a stunning work, man. And then you work with Old Spice. You're just an animal.
Yeah.
How do
Yeah.
you do all that stuff? And then, like, I'm sure you're doing things in between that too.
Yeah. So I mean it's funny how it all works. Like the Old Spice has been finished for, I don't know, a year and a half or so.
Has it really?
Yeah, and then it's just started rolling out beginning of this year.
Okay.
And then it took me a while to like find them all, to like
Yeah.
take a picture or whatever, post them. So
Right.
yeah, it's been out for a while and I was sitting on that, and even Crossway, that was like drawn and finished illustrating by like start of like lockdown. I remember like COVID happened, lockdown. It's one of the first projects I did during um, kind of that whole thing. So um, maybe, yeah, maybe I finished it up during the beginning and it was started before it all went down. But either way, it's been finished for a little bit, and you
Yeah.
just kind of sit and wait for it to, go out into the world, and it's cool once it finally does.
Dude. Yeah. I mean, it's so cool. I was listening to a review. This little old Southern lady was reviewing your book. I don't even think she knew that you drew it, and she was just like, she had the cover on it. There was like a grand reveal, and she opened the cover, and she was like, and it's just. I thought she was crying. She was like, it's just beautiful, and I agree with her. What's
Yeah,
that?
yeah, that's amazing. I haven't seen anything like that. I mean, the feedback like that I've gotten from people was pretty overwhelming in itself. Just positive like things people had to say and share. Yeah, it's been really cool, man, to be out and yeah, just kind of see where it goes. I'm just happy people are liking it.
Ugh. And the thing I think I'm most envious about in the world of illustration and photography too is that you get to create a product that represents something that someone really cares about. In the case of the Bible, I mean, is the best-selling book in history of mankind, right? And in the case of doing a logo for a company or an artist or a musician, it's like you get to become the symbol for what they're doing. And to me, that's the ultimate thing. Type of artwork is the artwork that improves the way that people can represent themselves. And there's not a lot of artwork. Like for me, it's like sculpture isn't really that way. People don't buy a sculpture and then identify by the sculpture, right?
But
So it's a totally different mindset. People buy sculpture for different reasons. I'm still learning about what those reasons are. I'm always quizzing my the people that commission me for stuff, but um I think that is an interesting it's an interesting. I mean, photographers too. I mean, they're even more literally you're representing them, right? In the case of a portrait, you're literally taking a picture of that person, and you're making them look great, right? And that's a confidence boosting thing. You do the same thing for artists. I mean, you've worked with, you name it, Disney, Old Spice. The list is crazy. I mean, what is did you when you started out doing this? Did you have what were your
yeah,
parents what were your parents thinking about this?
yeah.
This like you becoming an artist?
I honestly have had like really no like I mean, what's the word? I just kind of had no expectations, when I
Yeah.
got into it. I finished high school over here in the States, and I just didn't go to college, took a year off, and just worked in a skate shop. And I've always been like an art kind of kid, and my mum actually pushed me to do some graphic design stuff because there was a local school around, but
Mm.
um, little technical school. But I did that, and I just kind of, you know, jumped in, finished up, got my first job, and I just kind of like never really like thought I'd kind of get to this place where I'd be drawing. It was kind of like a bit of like a happy accident, where I started seeing the world of like illustration and graphic design combined. And I was like, I have never thought of anything like that. I always thought traditional graphic design, fine art, separate things, like don't cross paths, like
Mm.
turf war sort of thing, like don't mess
Mm.
with each other. But it's it was eye opening, man. And then I just kind of jumped into that as a hobby. I saw people take a liking to it, and literally from that point where I got like my first couple like projects for illustration, it's been like a roller coaster, man. Like I haven't really known like what's coming or what's around the corner. I just, you know, been along for the ride, man. Um, yeah, and then I'm just super thankful for projects I get to work on, and the ones back then, the ones now. Like it's cool. Not expected when I first, started going down this path. That's for sure.
Mm. It's amazing. It's crazy. Well, I'm definitely a super fan. I love what you do. I have the deodorant, which I should have. I don't know why I didn't bring it. I have the one of the Old Spice deodorants that you designed for. For those of you who don't know about Josh's work, he has an entire line of. Actually, you've done artwork. They've used that artwork that you've done for them on their soaps as well, right? A lot of their products, not just deodorant.
Yeah, the whole like wild collection, the
Mhm.
illustrations carried on, deodorants, body spray, body wash. So yeah, you got the trifecta going there.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah,
That's so cool. It,
yeah.
it was I don't really know you that well, but I was proud of you. I was in Target and I was like buying the deodorant and like an impulsive part of me wanted to look at the guy next to me and be like, yeah, I know this guy, who did this artwork, but I held myself because that would have been weird.
Man, that's another thing too. Like even that project, man, it's just cool because it's out, at Target or whatnot.
Everywhere.
People like friends of mine will like take pictures and send to me and stuff, and it's super encouraging, man. Because again, that's another project that's finished up a while ago. I spent a
Yeah.
lot of time on it, um, and yeah, to just like send it off and then not really hear or see much for like a year and a half or so, and then
Right.
you got went into Target one day, like around the time they were saying it was supposed to drop, and I just
Yeah.
drop in, no, no, not yet, no, no, go on another day, nope, not yet. And I
Mm.
remember the day I went in there with my wife, and it was just on the shelf, and I was like, well, there it is, like crazy. And yeah, so for other people to see it and like to recognize it's me or from just something I posted or whatever, and to send some encouragement, it's like it's cool, man. Like, um, yeah, gives you the warm fuzzy feelings a little bit.
Oh, it has to. I mean, I cannot even imagine. I mean, the feeling of finding like something that I sculpted in a Target, like and knowing that it's in all the Targets, that would freak me out. That would
Yeah.
freak me out. I'd be so sorry. I would do little laps around the Target aisles, you know?
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, it was wild, man. I mean, I don't know, like
Stunning work, man.
still kind of wild. Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
It's unfreaking believable. What do you do when you're not drawing? Like what's your favorite stuff to do?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot has changed over the last few years. I mean, if I'm not drawing or working, it's really family time, my daughter, um, learning how to be a dad.
Hmm.
Um, but as far as just like recreational fun or stuff, I mean, I still like to um, play a little bit of music, just listen to music. Got a bit of a bad record shopping habit. And I just like to,
Oh yeah, yep. So follow you on Instagram and see your
yeah,
latest Manchester Orchestra purchase. It's a good
yeah.
album.
Oh, dude,
I really like that album.
dude, they're the best, man. They're the best. I'm super biased. I've been a fan of them since their first record, like 06, 07. And
Mhm.
yeah, anything they touch, I just will rave about. So, but yeah, the album is really good, man. And when they drop the pre-orders, I made sure to get the fancy deluxe like book version that you fold out like a hardcover book and stuff. And,
Yeah,
I geeked out over it for a while. Still am.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
So what is the appeal? I think probably my guess is the appeal to you about records is all the landscape for album art, right? Is that part of it?
Yeah, I mean, it first started as like when I'd go to shows, I would just grab the record and be like, this is a
Mhm.
cool takeaway. And then just being a designer and stuff, like seeing, exactly what you're saying, like the packaging and how designers did it. Um, Bits of art that you wouldn't see unless you bought that. Photo booklets inside that you wouldn't see unless you bought that.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff, added up together, and then it's just like a cool like collection things to
Yeah.
have around the house. At least I think so. My wife is starting to get a. She's like, maybe we have a bit too many, but but no, it's cool, man. And just to like get one every now and then, put it on. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a morning ritual thing around here, just to kind
Right.
of wake up, coffee, put one on.
Mm.
That's changed again a little bit since being a dad. Like my daughter will hear it now and be like, I don't like that, bubble guppies or something like
Okay.
that. So that's
Like a
changed.
kids band or something?
Bubble guppies is like this like TV show of these, I don't know, little mermaid fish creature things, but they're like people, but they live underwater, yet there's still like swimming pools and all kinds of things underwater that I already, I don't know, it's weird, but she likes it. And um yeah, it's more important than my music right now, I guess.
That's great. Yeah, there's a so she's got to develop. Yeah, I think for me it took a while for me to like the music that my dad liked. I didn't really start liking the music that my dad liked until I was late into my teenage years.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's some stuff like we'll put on that might be like more like poppy or something, and she just likes to dance to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the majority of it, she doesn't care about. On Record Store Day, I think like 2 years ago, Baby Shark like came out on vinyl, this little tiny like 7 inch, with a little Baby Shark face on it. So I like bought that for her as like a gift. She was stoked on it. So like anytime I try to play something now on there, she would be like Baby Shark, and it has like four different versions of Baby Shark, which is like three, possibly four too many. And and we play those, and she dances, and we have to all do the hand movements and stuff. And
Oh gosh,
it's a fun time, man. It's a
that's
fun
pretty
time.
rough. That's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
rough.
She loves it.
As long as she loves it, that's what
That's it.
matters, right?
That's
I
right.
think that's what I feel about parenting. I'm not a parent, and I'm not even married, but I can just sense, from spending time with my friends' kids, as I get older, well, not most of them, but a lot of my friends have kids, and there is this sort of like consistent denial to self. Like you kind of like if you spend a day with kids, it teaches you to like forget about yourself in a way that you wouldn't if you were just sitting in a studio isolated somewhere only doing what you wanted all the time, right? That's
Oh,
good for you.
yeah, 100%. It's a hard lesson to learn. Um, but I mean, it's true. I mean, it'll bring out all kinds of selfishness. And yeah, I mean, I'm no expert by any means. I'm only 3 years into this thing, and
Hmm.
um, yeah, I mean, each day is a bit of a wake up call in another area, like,
Right.
you know, less of yourself, kind of giving more of yourself to them. And, it's kind of, yeah, like I said, a hard lesson to learn sometimes when, natural instinct for a lot of people is to think about themselves first. So,
Right.
uh, but yeah, I mean, it's the, you know, coolest thing and most hardest thing I've ever done for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Seems like those two things usually cohabit, hard things and really cool things.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
it seems like the best work is usually the work that you're like, oh man, this is kind of freaky.
Right.
This is going to be a lot. Do you have any projects where you're like, because to me, doing any of this stuff, especially these like big illustrated covers, there's so much going on. There's so many forms and so many things that weave in and out. Like, where do you come up with this? How do you do like rough sketches? Like, what practically,
Yeah.
how do you do it? What's the process like?
I mean, yeah, it goes by, I mean, project to project, you can
Yeah,
vary, but,
yeah,
um, like a lot of the time client just comes with a loose idea or, maybe something that even sketch themselves really quick,
right,
um, and it's pretty cool. And to take it back, like what we were just chatting about earlier, um, it's encouraging because a lot of the time people will be like, this is what you do. Like, we want to see what you come up with,
yeah,
and that in itself is like enough kind of confidence to kind of like go forward with it, being like, well, they came to me, I'm going to just kind of do what I do and put it in front of them. And, yeah, I mean, it all starts with sketches. But before that, like, it's just some research, brainstorming, um, I gather bunches of reference images depending on what I'm like putting together.
right,
Um, and it just kind of just like big, like some of the boards on my screen will just be like full of just stuff, like stuff they sent, stuff I found, doodles. And then I just kind of like sit down with the iPad and just kind of sketch something out. And um, my, my brain works in a way, and I'm sure maybe a lot of artists is the same. Well, I mean, I hope it's the same. Well, I guess not hope. Well, maybe it's the same. I should just say that.
right.
I work a lot better once like pencil is in hand and like something like a brainstorming session with another person talking about ideas.
Hmm.
I won't be the most like, I won't contribute as much because I'm just kind of like internally like thinking through things. But
Hmm.
it's when I have kind of like stuff laid out in front of me, pencil, and I kind of just, you know, put it to paper or put it to iPad, I guess now,
Right.
when the ideas kind of come. So um, that's when I feel like most confident to share my ideas rather than speak them. Because if I try to communicate something verbally, I feel like I just kind of sound like I just doesn't come across the same. I don't think,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, it's kind of how it starts.
Right. So when you say you put it up on a screen and you point it to your wall, is that do you have like a big like cork board on the wall or what when you get all these
Oh
pictures?
no, sorry, I was pointing up towards my computer monitor.
I got it.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm picturing I'm
yeah.
picturing something like either a cork board or like a television that you
Oh
put
yeah, no, it's like
on.
a big pinup board, like those true crime shows that have like screens and
Yes.
I have like one piece of
Yes.
information tied to another piece, and then
Yeah.
fingerprints around the place of those artists, and I'm trying to try. I'm just kidding.
Black lights. You're using black.
Yeah,
I'm imagining a lot of black lights.
yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I got to get it super
Would you say
clear.
that's the first or second most important tool for an illustrator is the black light?
It's probably second.
Okay.
You want to get a good black light, nothing cheap off Amazon. One
Okay.
that lasts long, holds a good charge.
Right.
First, most important thing is just your ability to solve crime. That's it. You can't do that, then on to the next one.
Right.
Right.
Right. Okay. See, I'm learning new things about illustrators that I
I'm
didn't
I'm
know
do
about.
I'm doing what I can here, man. Doing what
Yeah.
I can.
Isn't it? What my thing is with the strings, like, how do you move through those spaces without tripping up on stuff, or do you keep them on the wall?
Yeah, they stay up against the wall.
Okay, so there's not like from one wall to the other strings going
I
back and
mean,
forth.
really, really big projects, there might be a string going across the room, and you kind of got to get creative. But um, I've seen enough true crime shows to know how to dodge
Yeah,
those kind of strings. But uh,
right. That's good. That helps.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
One of the things that all kidding aside, remember about working with you, because you're kind enough to do a couple of things for me. One for the my personal stuff, and then one for the carving school that I started, the school of carving. And you were so efficient. Like when we started the project, I mean, you had like 3 or 4 drawings out to me, like a hand drawn one. I think this might have been a while. The first one was a while ago, so I'm not sure if you still do the hand drawn, but you did like a hand drawing, and it was like it was kind of like sickening how good and fast you were, and it made sense to me how you can how you can do stuff, be as prolific as you are because you're quick.
Yeah, I
Is that
kind
true?
of I feel like I work pretty fast.
Yeah.
It was something I had in my head for a while, and then I've kind of like done like a couple workshops and things now, and people have said it to me where I'm like, well, um, maybe it's not just in my head, sort of thing. And I don't know where exactly that comes from, but I just kind of work quick.
Hmm.
Um, I kind of call it like I just kind of have like a method that I work in, and when I'm speaking about it, I kind of like just call myself like one trick pony kind of guy. Because no matter the project, whether it's like a t-shirt, album cover, whatever, I have the same exact process formula from iPad to computer to developing it to finishing it. Like it's just the same every time, just
Hmm.
different templates, different sizes, different
Right.
info. So I just feel like I've gotten really quick at that thing. As soon as
Mm-hmm.
someone throws me a curveball, like I'm done. I'm done for. You know. But but yeah, just repetition, repetition,
Hmm.
working on things.
Right.
Um, Before all this illustration design stuff, I worked in an agency in town that was like very like um, deadline, timeline driven for a lot of newspapers and magazines. So it's like
Right.
all these kinds of projects on the table, like get them out quick as you can, like staying late, like going to the printer in an hour, get it done.
Right.
So I just had to get quick at all these programs, InDesign, Illustrator, Photoshop, and so I
Right.
learned all these shortcuts and all this stuff, and it just all combined into like where I'm at now to being like pretty quick. And once I land on an idea that I like, I just run with it. And yeah, most of the time it ends up going well.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there I was talking to a sculptor about this a couple of days ago. Like for me, even when I'm doing something I'm totally confident and good at, you know, I, I know it's going I know it's going to work out, right? But it doesn't keep you from, especially when people are watching what you're doing, if you're filming it, as I've started to teach more, there's this sense of like, God, I really hope this works out. Like
Right, right.
that'd be nice.
I've definitely felt that like doing workshops and stuff, like when
Yeah.
people are like, I do this every day, but now for some
Yeah.
reason it feels way harder.
Yeah.
But bro, like I've seen some of your like live streams and stuff where you carve away at these like chunks of wood, and I like watch it like I don't see what he sees, like, but there you are just like hacking away at this thing. And it looks pretty fast to me, man. I'm no expert at like sculpturing or anything, but it looks like you got a handle on things over there. And here's the other thing, man. Like
Thanks, dude.
I here's the other thing. Like I can like just hit, Command Z. I can hit backspace. I can hit undo all these certain things and go back to like an hour before I started. And here you are carving away at a piece of wood, and there's no turning back after that. Hammer strikes the chisel or whatever. So I can see why it maybe doesn't take as long as you would like, because you're like, is this the right one to hit? You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah, there is the freaky part of that not being able to go back. And that's probably the thing that trips people up the most when they're carving mentally is that. And I think hey, there's a spider. What's up, bud?
You literally just had a spider on you
Yeah, yeah.
and you just casually flicked it off your shoulder. Like,
Right.
that was probably one of the manliest things I've ever seen. I would have had to end the podcast, jump out here. I probably would have had to have a shower. I would have been done for. A spider just crawled across your body, and you were like, "Oh, what's up, friend?"
It was intense for my camera too, apparently, because it doesn't like this. I'm gonna unplug and go to the built-in here for a second while this charges.
Yeah, no problem.
Give me a second. The power of editing, no one will ever know.
It's a beautiful thing.
Hold on, I can't. Let's see here. Video, FaceTime, HD camera. Let's see if that works. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now we're on the same level.
Yeah.
Oh, yours looks way better though. This is not good.
It looks good enough, dude. That'll work.
That'll do.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, but what's funny is it doesn't make you so I think when I started carving, I wouldn't even think about that because I was almost just too ignorant to know that if I made a mistake that I couldn't go back and fix it. So it kind of helped to have that, just complete ignorance of what's going on. And then, you can always make things smaller. You can always go smaller, right? So it's like my undo button is just shrinking everything.
Yeah.
But there's ways to undo things in carving for sure. I mean, there comes a point where if it gets there are compositional things that need to happen for things to work out. You can't just, like, for instance, if the head is not quite right or you messed up the nose, you need to shrink it. Well, the length of the neck in relationship to the body, you can't bring the body any closer as you shrink the head. You just have the length. So there are some things that you've got a little room for error, but after a while it's like, well, this is what it is. But I think you have to have that as an illustrator too, right? I imagine you just have to go like, you know what, I could fiddle with this for another year if I wanted to, but this is good.
Yeah, I mean, sure, there's like a place where you can force yourself to stop and be like, this is done. This is where I think it looks good. This is what the client wants. Like, this is a good stopping point. For sure, I could come back to it in a week and be like, well, I probably would have done that a little different now.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to project deadlines and things, you can't live that way. I used to be that way when I was just doing like art stuff, like painting and things. I'd spend ages on something. Yeah, as time has gone along and I've done more projects and stuff, it gets a little easier to be like, this is it.
Yeah.
In some projects, it's really easy if you've had like a lot of revisions or something. You're like, okay, cool, this is like done. Like, take it,
right?
Sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely time you learn kind of like when to stop, when to keep going.
Yeah.
It makes it hard when you take pride in things you do too. You don't want to send something that like just because it's good enough. You want to make it right. So there's a balance, but that you kind of always walk in that line of I gotta move on, gotta keep going, sort of thing. So
that's true. How do you I mean, for me, it's something right now I've been dealing with in making stuff. It's like, there's a period in my life where I was all about efficiency, right? It was maybe a year of carving, or maybe, I don't know, 8 months. I was trying to be efficient as possible. and the artwork kind of suffered in a way. Um, but I also learned some things about efficiency, of cuts. And
Right.
so it seems like, it's good for artists to go in and out of that a little bit. But where I've landed is, I'm kind of back to, um, really, really spending all the time that's necessary on something to get it right. And but I think somehow I've managed to temper that a little bit with that part of my brain that says, but you've got to ship the work. I mean, you've got to ship the work eventually. And
Right.
sometimes I don't know if this translates with what you do, but it doesn't always make it better to spend more time and effort on it.
Yeah, I think some of the things I would like tinker around with for a while, you know, no one would know like
Right.
that I did that. And I just tell myself like, hey, like other people aren't seeing, you know, those other versions or what you had spent the last hour on. Like they only see the final thing. Um, so yeah, I kind of tell myself that I'm like, they're not gonna see the difference between how I have like, the pinky finger on this one compared to the pinky finger on this other one, you know. So, um, but yeah, it's again, it comes down to like a thing where like, but no, this one I think looks better now, and you at the end of the day want to be happy with what you send out. So, um, if you
Right.
work with something and you want to put the extra time, and at the end of that extra time, you feel better about it and you're prouder of it, more excited to share it, more excited to deliver it to the client, then it was worth your time.
Yeah. It's definitely it's definitely a fine line to walk. And you do it so well, man. I mean, from working with you and seeing, your revision process, it actually kind of inspired me to start doing more sketching, because I feel like it improves the sculpture when you have an idea, of the outline, at least, what you're about to do. It saves
Right.
time. It makes it quicker.
For sure. So you would just kind of like mount up a piece of wood and just kind of go for it, huh?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's most of my life. That's how I've done it. But
Oh,
more now, and still, if I were to do, probably still only maybe, I don't know, 20 or 30% of the projects I carve will I sketch out, maybe even less.
hmm.
But when I do, like for instance, it's usually with a large commission where there's a big budget and it's a giant project and it requires a lot of time and effort. And the person doesn't just want to throw a bunch of money at you and say, do what you want. There's a sense of like, we want it to look something like this. Maybe you,
Right.
and so you want to present them an idea. And so I try my best to draw. I'm not by any stretch a good two-dimensional artist, and I do my best. I mean, it's laughable. If you saw, I mean, I'd be mortified to show anyone. Even my girlfriend like opened my iPad the other day, and I mean, I was nervous. She opened my Procreate, is what I meant to say. And she looked through it, and I'm just like, I felt like a fraud, an artist fraud.
That's funny, man, because I look at people who do sculpting and things, carving, and it's crazy how people can see like three-dimensional like that. Um, my dad went to art school and stuff, and um, he I think majored in like sculpture, and it was more like clay kind
Mhm.
of based work. But he would make kind of like what kinds of like I mean he was doing like dragons and stuff. Like my dad was like a motorbike kind of tattoo dude, so he's doing
That's
dragons
awesome.
and all this freaking kind of stuff. But yeah, he'd build all this stuff out of clay and see it all 3D and yeah, kind of cool. But he couldn't. I mean, I'm not saying anything he wouldn't say, but he can't draw. You
Yeah.
know. So it's just
uh,
crazy. It's just crazy.
it's amazing how many folks who do sculpture can't draw.
See, I feel like sculpture is almost like a step up. So,
I don't know,
so
man. I don't know. I think, but one thing I have noticed is if you can sculpt and draw, usually your sculpture is a lot better for it.
oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the best ones I know are people who they can draw what they want. They're probably not as efficient at drawing as they are at sculpture, right? Because it's their job. But they're really good at getting the forms on paper first, and it makes the process. Actually, Brian Booth, who's, I mean, he's one of the foremost figurative sculptors in the United States, and he says that, the key to making a project, to being more efficient with time is to sketch it out first. It gives you that framework, so you kind of think through the shape and form, and you process it. Maybe I'm taking what he said out of context, but at least having some sort of a prep, a prep process, thinking through the forms. I wish I had that, but I don't. I mean, usually when I start something, it's like, we'll see what happens. If it's, so um, I envy and so I envy people that have that. And so I've been doing it, and I've been using the iPad because it just makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot more convenient, and I mean, speeds up the process and whatnot. It does become a bit of a crutch in some ways, but when it comes to just work and being efficient, yeah, I mean, you can't beat it really. I mean, I don't think, but
Yeah.
that
I
is
mean,
my.
but correct me if I'm wrong, but all of the tricks of illustration, there, you still have those tricks in hand drawing. You can still flip things around and make shapes and tracing, and I know people who do drafts for architectural work, and they use all these techniques to create proportioned things. But I mean, people have done that with hand drawing for years, so it's not like, to me, it's like, you still, from sitting with an iPad for the last year and trying to draw, it's, to me, it doesn't feel any easier. So I don't. I was hoping, because I've heard you and other people talk about how it's like, yeah, sometimes it feels like cheating. So I got so excited, when I
Yeah,
bought the
I mean,
iPad. I was like, I'm gonna be cheating now, and
well,
no, the artwork's still not good. The
well, yeah,
two,
I didn't mean to get their hopes up with anything I said. It doesn't make anyone
come on, dude.
it, it doesn't make anyone a better drawer, I don't think,
Ugh,
but it
I
it
misunderstood.
speeds up and helps correct things that working on pencil and paper wouldn't. I mean, just the
Right.
simple fact of being to undo something,
Yeah.
um, stretch it, move it
Sure.
around,
Yeah.
copy and paste it, like just all this kinds of stuff, man. So
It kind of allows you to be more creative in that sense, right? Because you can't do stuff like that. You can't take a form and then just and stretch it.
yeah, I mean, if it's on pen and paper, like, I mean, it's there, like,
Right.
um, so I think with me, it just I just learned other ways to like speed up the process, like
Right.
I used to, I mean, everyone, I shouldn't just say I used to, but everyone was drawing on pen and paper before this,
Right.
obviously. And I remember when I was working on projects, pen and ink sort of thing, and I'd make a mistake, and it'd just be something that would be like, okay, when I take this to the computer, I got to remember to, you know, redo this feather because it's like overlapping a part of the bird that makes it look awkward or something. I just had to keep that in the back of my head the whole time, or like have to get white out and it would just be a mess. But like, so yeah, it's just kind of the simple fact of like, well, I can just quickly fix that right now. I don't have to try and remember it and possibly forget about it being there, sort of thing, or whatever. It's just things like that where like it will just help speed up, um, or like highlight areas of your work that you're already good at. It just will kind of like
Mm.
highlight it, make it quicker, make it more efficient, and um, yeah, just kind of like streamline things a bit. And then you can just like put it in your backpack. I mean, and just go. So that's kind of nice too.
It's
But
amazing. Yeah, it goes with me everywhere now.
yeah,
I don't have a. Do you have put a case on yours?
I do, man. I do have a
You probably
case.
should. Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
My daughter still cracked my screen.
Did she? Oh no.
Yeah, I let her. We were on an airplane, going somewhere, and just get ready for the day that you have to take a toddler on an airplane, my friend. It's
I'm prepping
it's
emotionally for it right now.
it's super fun. So you just pretty much give them anything or do anything they want you to do, so they will just cooperate and sit and not scream and yell and try to run down the hall. So like anything she wants, she gets. And there's one point where I was like at a breaking point. She's like, I want color, I want color. And I was like, here, take my iPad, take it. And for the love of God, take my iPad. And so I put it in front of her, and ever since we kind of put crayons or pencils in front of her, she like holds onto them with this like firm grip, like no one is taking this away from me. And she will like press down on paper with her crayons so hard that she like breaks crayons and like, you know, drags the paper with her, sort of thing. She's just very intense. So, and there lies my mistake. I gave it to her, forgetting that moment. I kind of sat back as she was sitting on my lap, and she went to town coloring, but she did it with such force that she like cracked my screen with using the Apple
Are
Pencil.
you serious? With the pencil?
Yeah, she like pushed down hard enough to where there's like this crack that goes down my screen now.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so she was into whatever she was creating. She was passionate about it. But yeah, I got this crack on my screen still now. And I put a it's funny, I put a screen protector on it now after it's cracked. But I don't feel the crack when I draw or whatever, but
Oh, that's good.
should put that on first. And
She's got skills. She probably learned. Did she learn that from you? The intensity level, maybe?
I'm not really that intense about much, to be honest with you. But
Pretty laid back.
she
Comes from mom then.
yeah, I think so. I think so.
So the case is a good idea.
Lesson learned.
With if you've got me, right? Somebody who just does this for fun occasionally, and then draws, sketches for sculpture. But what would you say would be helpful for somebody who wants to get into graphic design? What would be something that you wished you had known when you started out, if there's anything?
Yeah, I mean, for someone that's just trying to get into it, I mean, it's said 1,000 times by just about anyone, but it's just like small steps and just start, you know. I think people get discouraged by looking at like, different illustrators or artists and, thinking like, well, how do I get to that? And it's like, that's not, a day's work. That's time, that's effort,
Right.
that's, mistakes, that's lessons learned. So the only thing I can say, like, and again, said a bunch of times, is like really just like start picking it up and trying and making, a daily effort to make something or work
Right.
on something or, learn something. So that'd probably be the biggest thing. I'm sure there's lots of little things in there that, are super important. I could say that I don't have on the top of my head, but starting will get you there. And when you run into something, then reach out to someone and ask them. You'll find out a lot of people in the creative community are willing to like chat about it and
Totally.
talk through it and help you out. So
Yep. This is true. Do you have like, speaking of getting to it every day, is there like a sort of structure that works for you, you've noticed, or do you just try and draw whenever you can? Or what is it? I'm just curious from the perspective of a family man, like how do you manage all of it?
yeah, so I mean, once the daily morning routine is kind of wrapped up, and like, you know, coffee is made for the wife and I, lunch is packed for the little one. I've taken her to daycare, come back to the house, and it's just kind of like I settle in. I just kind of sit down. I might tinker around on my phone for a little bit, whatnot. Pick out what I'm going to listen to, and then I just kind of just get to it, and depending on the project. But something that I've found, at least as of late, like for me coming into the office where it's just kind of like quiet and music's on,
Yeah.
that's kind of like enough of like, man, like I'm glad to be here. So where getting to work is easy, you know what I mean?
Totally.
So So that's kind of what it looks like for me, at least now. It's obviously changed over the years. Like I used to say stuff like, man, nighttime, like I can just crank through stuff at nighttime.
Hmm.
But now it's obviously it's different. It's, you
Hmm.
know, family at night, it's that kind of thing. But
Right.
so
How much of the time do you spend listening to music when you're drawing?
yeah, I mean, I have a little speaker here that I've had for a while, but it's pretty much on nonstop.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I listen to some podcasts and stuff here and there, but um, I just kind of like will get in the zone sometimes and just kind of be in my head, music in the background, and just kind of go and just
Hmm.
um, yeah, unless I'm on like a Zoom call or something, there's always something just playing.
Right.
Um, Not always like music that that I would be like, hey everyone, check out what I'm listening to, but no,
Is
it's
it 80s hair metal? Is that?
no, I mean, I guess it's nothing to be embarrassed by or anything like that. But man, yeah, I mean, stuff from high school, whatever, just all that kind of thing. But yeah, always music playing, for sure.
Nice. Do
Yeah.
you find that if you don't have music on, that is missing something?
Um,
Do you like working in coffee shops? Is it part two of that?
yeah, but at coffee shops, my entertainment is like people listening. Um, so like there's people watching, obviously, but this is probably not the best thing to admit on a podcast, but man, like just sitting there with my headphones in, no music playing at all, listening to convos and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
something so entertaining about that, and also something very like therapeutic. Like, okay, cool. Like, I'm not the only one with like stuff going on. You know what I mean? So there's that whole side of it. But yeah, I mean, I like working at coffee shops too. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's. I mean, for the most of the time, there's something in my ear, whether it's music or other people's problems at coffee shops.
So for
Yeah.
you, it's either gossip or music.
Well, I mean, sometimes a lot of the music I think I listen to is just people singing about their problems. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's kind of like similar,
yeah. That's true. Yeah,
but
my a buddy of mine recently, I mentioned 80s hair metal, but Doug Linker got me into listening to the Scorpions.
okay, I don't know.
Yeah, but
So,
it's great. The music is awesome.
yeah, I imagine sculpting. You want to listen to something like that, just being like every every like second or so,
Yes.
you take the friggin' chisel away and you like use that as an air guitar and you headbang and then you like put
Yeah,
the
yeah,
chisel up against the friggin' piece of
totally.
wood and you're like do do to the
Yeah,
beat of the friggin' song.
100%.
Dude,
100%.
that sounds amazing.
I didn't know this though. I didn't know that it would be so great. But like I've spent the last 2 days listening to metal, and I was visiting a friend in Kentucky. Actually, I was going down to film for my school of sculpture, and the guy who let us, who we stayed with, was a chainsaw carver, and he's like a giant man, huge man, born and bred Kentucky guy,
Just
and
let spiders just run all over his
oh,
body.
dude. I mean, this guy was so manly, it made me sick. I mean, he was just sitting there, he'd like have a cigarette in his mouth, and he would just kind of, and he barely even moved his arms. And then, by the, 20 or 30 minutes later, there's like this crazy sculpture erected from nothing. It's like this crazy eagle coming out of this Native American guy's head, and then like below there's a wolf howling. It's like, who does that?
Jeez.
And he was like, man, we have to collaborate on something together. I was like, cool, that'd be super cool. And we were done filming at the end of the night. It was probably 9 o'clock. He has this huge wooden overhang that he built in his backyard, and he's in the middle of the hills of Kentucky, and it's beautiful. He's like, all right, so we're going to turn this into my accent sucks, but we're going to turn this into something here, like maybe like a portrait, and he talks really softly. You can barely hear him when he's so much taller than you. You kind of have to like really tense to hear him. And he was like, well, So I'll rough it in and you finish it. So he got with the chainsaw and like I said, barely moves his arms at all. Just kind of like and pulls the cigarette out and puts it back in. And then, 20 minutes later, I get onto the project and I've got all these hand tools and I'm trying to rough it in and I've got the remaining, 35 minutes. And I don't know, 10 minutes in, I feel these giant earbuds. He like puts these giant earphones on my head, and it's like some crazy heavy metal. That stuff had me in. I mean, it worked. I was like, I must have increased pace by 100%.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it does.
Like
It does something.
if you're working out, you want to have something like
Yeah,
upbeat. You know what I mean?
totally.
I feel like that's sculpture is like almost like working out.
Yeah, and it is. And then sometimes you hear from people like Alex Grobovetsky has a school of carving online, and he works for the wealthiest of the wealthy. I mean, the top wealthiest people in the world. It's all he does, his clientele, and he does incredible like scrolling. I don't know if you've seen some of the architectural stuff that these artists do. It's just like it looks like it comes out of the 1500s in England somewhere. I mean, it's just the detail and no sandpaper, and it's just like the work is unbelievable. And he'll do something like that all by hand. I mean, he'll take a giant piece of wood. I mean, the size of this studio. I mean, like sometimes 12 foot by 6 foot, whatever, this massive, massive hunk of wood. And he'll have tools. I mean, he has tools a lot bigger than mine. They're huge tools. And he's got a mallet and he's roughing them in by hand. No power tools, no chainsaws. And then at the end of the day, he starts at 6 a.m. And then by 6 p.m., he says he goes to the gym because it's not enough of a workout for him. And I'm like, by the end of the day, I'm whooped. I want the sauna. I don't want to lift anything by the end of something like that.
I mean, at the end of the day, I sit in a chair all day. At the end of the day, I'm like, let me get the other chair, the couch.
The softer chair.
Yeah.
Dude, it's crazy. It's crazy what some people create, the normal that they create for themselves. I think that's why I'm so interested in finding out what other people's lifestyles look like in the creative world, because no one's telling you. You could do anything you want. Right now, Joshua could get in an airplane, fly to wherever he wanted, and efficiently work wherever there's internet, because you can send and receive files. You can draw on your iPad as long as you have power. I mean, that's an incredible amount of freedom. It really is.
I mean, I don't always like zoom out and look at it like that, but yeah, it's cool. Like most of the time, I take for granted just the fact I can put it in my bag and ride downtown and work at a shop down there or something. Yep. But yeah, I mean the freedom to travel and work on some stuff when I travel is like, yeah, it's cool. I mean, like you said, that's not the case for everyone. So, But yeah, I take that for granted for sure.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to have. The freedom of being an artist is definitely there, but people don't realize that to do it, you have to have, a certain level of self-discipline. And did you always have that sort of internal drive to do things, to make things?
Yeah, I mean, ever since I was a kid, I kind of just been making things, drawing things. And I mean, I mentioned my dad earlier, but he would be like working on something and I'd mess around with his scraps and stuff or whatever he was doing, I'd try to do something the same. And then art in school was always something that I just thrived in and kind of enjoyed. I guess the self-discipline of things and just making sure to keep working. It's just something that's kind of started. It went from something just I did to enjoy, nothing else to do today, then I'll paint something. But now there's this drive of it's kind of man, it's just what I fall back on. I don't know. It's just, okay, free time. I can finish working a 10-hour day on a project and then be cool. Let's get the family, get Rowan down, to sleep. What do I want to do now? Well, I just do draw something. So it's weird, man. It's
dude, that's such a gift. That is so cool. I've seen you do that where you draw people's album art, people you don't know, they didn't commission you to, just for fun. I'm
Yeah.
like, where does of this guy of all people I know, of all the illustrators, you seem to be making the most stride. I mean, you are making more strides than anyone I know in this world, and in terms of um, illustration. And then you go and you sit and you make some crazy elaborate, beautiful drawing of some album cover that the artist would be insane not to turn into their album, right? Like, so you really do enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just yeah, I mean, this day, like, I don't want to make it sound like it's just like all fairy tale. Like, there's days where I'm
Yeah.
like, man, like, I kind of would rather just like, you know, binge watch Criminal Minds or something. Um, but like, yeah, I mean, it is true. Like after a day, I can be like, well, I'm glad that's done. Now I can work on something that like I'm like a little more passionate about, or at something that I was inspired by earlier that I can actually have time to work on or put together. And it kind of goes back to the conversation like before, like uh, I can get some of that stuff done pretty quick. So it's not like every like creative, personal project I have is something I have to like block out like time for, or block out like
Hmm.
2 weeks for, like,
Mhm.
it can be something where like, oh, I had this illustration in mind from like a lyric that I just heard, and it can be something that I finished like, you know, that night while watching, some TV with my wife or whatever.
Hmm.
And she'll be like, "Is that for work or for fun?" And I'll be like, "No, this is for fun." She's like, "Okay, that's cool, man." Like she just
Hmm.
doesn't want me working, which is,
Hmm.
you know, um, but it's funny, man. Yeah, it can be the same act, the same process, and one can be work, but one can just be like fun. So
Right.
yeah.
No, this is kind of this one. Forgive the obscure. It might be kind of hard to quantify this, but when did you feel like you were actually, you know, like this is really going to work? From starting the very beginning, from painting for fun when you didn't have anything else to do, to to where you are now. Where in terms of your journey did you feel like this is going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few different moments, and I won't say that like I'm a like even now, like I had days where I'm like, this could be the last project I ever get, like like we're at a time in our life now where we're trying to think about the future and like set stuff up for later on and for Rowan or whatever. And I think, well, like, what's going to happen in 2 years when no one cares about my illustrations anymore? I'm gonna have to find more work. So I'm like, I definitely have this kind of like mindset in the back of my head, but there's still things that happen to where I'm like, okay, this is like what I'm meant to be doing. This is what works for me, sort of thing.
Mm.
Um, I guess to tell a specific story, like would be like the first project I ever got where I was like, oh, holy crap, like this is a real like job
Mhm.
paying good money. Like this can be a job, and that was like, when I was still working the full-time job at an agency, and I just started doing some freelance stuff on the side. And I'm talking way early on. Like I had no idea what the heck I was doing with anything, like talking to people, clients, money, budget, nothing. I had zero clue. And uh, I even had like my cell phone number on my website because I was like, maybe someone will just call me to do something. Like
Right.
that'd be crazy. And I remember one day I had literally just got home from work. I got a phone call from someone, and they were like, "Hey, I'm so and so, and I'm working with I have a project in mind for you. It's through a company called Polo, and I think you'd be a good fit for it." And I was just kind of like, "Wait, like someone's like I just the fact that he was calling about my work, I just kind of zoned out, and I was like, whoa, okay." And then I was like, "Wait, did you say like Polo?" And he said, "Yeah, like Polo Ralph Lauren." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, like we had a project in mind, super quick turnaround time." And he just started jumping into it like I had been here before. And I had literally like, I had no clue, man. I'm like, wait, what? Like, okay, so you're at an agency, you're not actually on staff at Polo Ralph Lauren. I'm learning this stuff too. Like,
Yeah.
anyway, that whole project was a super quick turnaround, a lot of lessons learned sort of thing. And it was the first time like where we signed off. I did the work over like a couple of weeks, finished it, got the paycheck, and I was like, wow, like this can be something, more than a side job. Obviously I still have a lot to learn, um, in regards to like business and things, and I still have lots to learn when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah.
But like I was like, man, this can be something, and that was really the project that put in the back of my head, like this can be a job, so
Hmm.
um, yeah.
Wow. What,
Yeah.
what was it? What did you draw for him?
So they did this like survival guide thing where they were like they made these like it was like a social media campaign, and um they kind of had a bunch of like these super high-end, super fancy, nice kind of like camping products and camping clothing, and they made these like short little tiny stories for like social media. And this was like fairly early on in Instagram days where it was like this like like big deal. I mean, it still is, but like, it's like new, so the whole thing was like filmed on an iPhone, edited on an iPhone, posted, on an iPhone sort of deal.
Right.
So it's all social media thing. But anyway, I did like the title graphics and the ending graphics and these little icons and stuff that went
Yeah.
on the front and backs of these videos. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was crazy. Like
That's a crazy first gig.
yeah, I mean, like as for like not like first, but like the first one,
Yeah.
like brand or company. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. I mean, that's just, yeah, that's,
Yeah, but I mean, and I mean, just to like keep going on that, it's not like I got that and then I was like, sweet, like this is it. It could be a job.
yeah,
And then every other week, I was getting like these big brands like calling.
Gucci and
Yeah,
the
I
next
mean,
day.
I didn't have like another big brand like that for probably like I don't know, maybe 2 years or something. So it
Hmm.
wasn't like it just became possible at that point.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right.
it just kind of like lit a fire.
Yep.
And then I was just drawing stuff every day, posting stuff every day, getting stuff out there every day, like, and then just kind of projects would come in. I'd take anything on that I could take on,
Hmm.
and yeah, and now, just like I said at the very beginning, like just still thankful just to be doing it. So,
Yeah.
um, and again, I still think tomorrow might be my last project I ever get. So it's it's a funny internal battle, but
Yeah. No,
yeah,
it's something to be, I think it might be a testament to your work too, is that you have this mindset. You kind of work like, I think if you rest in your laurels too much, it can be a bad, right? If you get too comfortable with where you're at and people will like this, it can be bad for your artwork. And the fact that you don't do that, I mean, it shows in everything you put out. I mean, it's sort of like my dad used to say that it's better to watch college football. It's sometimes more fun, at least, to watch college football than NFL, because college kids are trying to prove themselves, right?
yeah,
And they're just constantly putting themselves out in the line. And sometimes, art, I mean, I've personally done this in my life where it's like, yeah, I mean, I did this with a project a couple of days ago where, I was like, this is going well. I'm going to film it. I'm going to film it. I'm going to turn it into a lesson. I'm going to get the commission done, 2 for 1, bada bing, bada boom. And then as I finished it, I was like, yeah, there's something needs to be fixed with this, but I'll send it to the client. Client was an artist and said, yeah, I think maybe something needs to be fixed with this. And it turned out that I had to restart the thing from scratch. And if I had been a little bit more patient with it and tried to not bite off more than I could chew, I wouldn't have had that problem. Um, and there's a certain level of like, needing to, it's like I mentioned it with Brian Craig Booth. It's like there's a certain degree of disbelief you have to have in yourself sometimes too, right?
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Not just belief.
Yeah. 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 I got plenty of that.
Also, I'm realizing now that we ended up not quite matching, but these, this was an accident, but
Yeah. It's a happy accident though.
yeah, yeah, it looks like we're on the same podcast or something.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like it. I like it.
So usually at this point in the podcast, I would run a few of what I call rapid fire questions. Um, some of them are deep, some of them are not so deep. You feeling up for it?
Totally.
All right.
Let me just have a sip of what?
Okay. What this one's actually the hardest one. What uncommon belief do you hold? Maybe that not many people do, if any, if any.
Oh, geez. You might have to edit out some thinking time here. What uncommon belief?
No rush.
So I can mention a couple beliefs that I have recently just like conquered or gotten over or don't believe anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I, for the longest time, wait, now I'm confused actually. Do I believe it or don't believe it?
Sound like me.
It's nothing mind blowing at all, but I wouldn't eat carrot cake for the longest time.
Dude, I was waiting for it to be like some deep, like, like, I don't know, some like
No, but
spiritual or physical.
because I thought there was real like carrots in it. But is there actually real carrots in it?
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so there is.
Of course there are real carrots in carrot cake. That's what makes it so good.
Wow, see, like that's the thing. I was tripped up on it, and I don't know what I believed about it. But it stopped me from eating it.
Do you like it?
I do like it very much now.
It's my favorite
I
cake.
thought it would taste like carrots. I guess it's maybe the thing I believed too much about. So that's probably not the answer you're looking for, but that's stuff
That was
like
good.
that. That's the
That
kind
was
of stuff
good.
that keeps me up at night.
Is it?
No, not really. But
All right. What do you?
I had a similar internal battle with cheesecake too, but that's another story.
Well, it's like cream cheese is kind of cheese, but it's kind of like loosely a part of the cheese family. It's more like a spread, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I still don't know what I believe about it.
Yeah.
No, I'm a believer in that.
You believe in cheesecake?
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah.
All right. Okay. Good, good. Well, on the topic of food, what's your favorite pizza topping?
Oh, I mean, there's like the staple. If I just go somewhere I've never been, I always would just get pepperoni. Like, and that's kind of a boring answer, but there's a spot over where I'm at called Nice Guys, and they have one that's like hot honey, and it has a mixture of kind of like some spicy meat and honey. It's a bit messy, but it's very, very delicious. So that one's super good. And then my favorite pizza restaurant.
Wait, what did you say is on it?
It's like a spicy meat, and then it's like I think for being one of my favorites, I should know the name of the actual meat, but it's kind of like I think just like a spicy like salami or pastrami or something. I don't know.
Okay,
I'm gonna sound like an idiot here, but anyway, it's something spicy and something sweet, which is the honey. Like
honey?
Yeah.
On pizza?
Yeah. Hot honey.
Yeah, that trips me up even.
It's really good though.
Oh, okay.
It's like one of those kind of like, it's like a pizza spot where they have a whole bunch of kind of like, abstract sort of toppings.
Yeah.
And things.
Like the places that like the ice cream shops that have lavender flavored ice cream and
right. They have your staples too, but there's some super good ones. I think it's just the fact that it's like kind of spicy and Yeah, I know it's good. Um, yeah, sorry, these are kind of long-winded for your rapid fire.
Now the answers don't have to be rapid.
Oh,
It's
okay.
it's good. Um, this is actually not necessarily even a rapid fire question, but I didn't want to forget it. Um, this is a podcast where I often, look at the business of art as well, because most artists it's kind of passe. It's not cool to talk about the business side of art, but I'm interested in it, as a marketing major um, in school. And so, in what ways, maybe if any, has your business as an artist changed through the time of, doing from the beginning to now? What are
I
some
think
things you've learned?
I think the biggest thing is just learning that you have to be or try to be business minded.
Yeah, right.
Starting out, it's all about like the artwork and all about making just cool stuff, and then you realize not at least like kind of getting a bit more fluent in some of that conversation or whatnot when you're having conversations with clients and stuff.
Right.
It's going to get weird. Um, but yeah, just learning that you don't have to be like business savvy or anything, but you kind of have to at least learn a little about that side of things to kind of get stuff running.
Right.
And I think I've said it a couple of times briefly already, but like that side of things, like I still got a lot to work on, man. Like
Hmm.
I just get by with like a lot of it. I have a few processes that work for me, but I learn stuff every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I need to fix or change. I mean,
For sure.
we're coming out of tax season now, and I've learned stuff from this thing where I'm like, damn, like next year I got to switch some stuff up, sort of thing. So like it's
Yeah.
just ongoing learning.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, for sure, man. It is. It's an adaptive process, and if anything, the being nimble is huge, and being able to learn, be a student of business each day, and try not to make the same mistakes twice.
yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
It's
Especially when it
good.
comes to taxes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
not
There's
really.
that's another rabbit trail that we could go down another day. But um, what's a time that you've laughed the hardest?
Laugh the hardest. Um, man, I have this like bad like habit of like finding the very wrong place to like have a laughing fit. I don't know, and it's just like I find I don't know. Maybe this says something about my character or something. I don't know. I hope people don't judge me too much, but there's something about like stuff going wrong for people that I find, and nothing serious or bad, but like one story in particular, I had a friend that was filming a video for another friend, and the guy um, in front of the camera just couldn't like nail down what he was saying, getting his lines right. And I remember just kind of sitting in the room watching it there, just kind of like as a helping hand. And after a few times, like I was dying at the fact that he couldn't get it, the fact of how frustrated he was getting, some
Right.
of the remarks and maybe even cuss words that he was saying. I don't know. It just the combination of it all got me to a point where like I had to leave. I had to leave. So it's not a funny story or a funny thing, but it's just
Yeah.
like a combination of stuff to where like even the fact of like I shouldn't be laughing now, somewhere in my brain is like I'm making you laugh, and I start laughing. But yeah,
Sure. Totally. Seems like that's the case. When you're not supposed to laugh is when you end up laughing the hardest.
yeah, yeah. There's been worse times than that, but
Mhm.
I don't want to get judged too hard on here. Yeah.
Our audience is pretty forgiving.
Okay.
Um, it's not like YouTube. Although
Oh,
this will go on YouTube, so actually it's probably good that you didn't say anything too mean
okay.
because people might tear you apart on there.
Yeah, yeah.
I was getting my hair cut at a student hair salon where they were kind of like training people, and so it was like $5 haircuts. I was down south, and I was in well, not south for you, south for me, South Carolina.
Yeah,
And I was up north for you.
cool.
Um, and I got my hair cut, and the guy he really didn't know what he was doing, and there was an older guy kind of watching over him, but he was kind of busy sweeping up, so it wasn't all that tight of a monitoring situation here, unfortunately. So he kind of like trimmed the sides of my hair, and then he got to the top, and he's like, "Well, I don't really know what to do with the top." And I was like, "It's fine. Actually, I like it like that. I like it longer on the top, so that's perfect." He's like, "You sure?" And I was like, "Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%." He's like, "You sure? Because I can try. I get my boss. I can do. I'm like, "No, this is the way I want it." And my hair was crazy long at the top. I had a fro.
Yeah, man.
It was epic. And then my buddy went up, and it was his turn. And this is his idea. And the guy, for some reason, got like OCD about one spot on Mike's head, and it was just right here at the temple. And he kept going over it, over and over. And I swear it was probably 10 or 15 minutes of him going over this one spot to the point where Mike's face went from kind of like, the normal to pure visceral rage. I mean, he was furious, and he was actually bleeding.
Oh, gee.
There's blood coming down from the corner of his face. And I was sitting over there watching, and just the contrast of this guy really over focusing on one spot continually because it wasn't shaving, it wasn't like
Yeah.
cutting and blood. And my friend's face was just like, oh my God, I'm so angry right now. I could kill someone. That killed me. I couldn't
Yeah,
keep it together.
yeah, that sounds amazing.
That was epic.
It's kind of like a weird like contact, like it's like almost it works in a contact high kind of way. Like you have to be there. So
Totally.
like even if I like share a story about what I encountered, the people they're gonna be like, "What's so funny about that?" You know what I
Right.
mean? But it's like there's just something in the room, man.
Yep. There's just a tone of seriousness that's kind of, that I feel like it's contrasting how ridiculous the situation actually is, and how no one else is seeing it but you.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's amazing.
yep.
Well, Josh, this was great. Thank you for doing it.
Oh, dude, it was fun. Good chatting. Pleasure.
Anything
Uh,
else you want to add before we get off? Anything you want to plug? Go check out Crossway, the artist series, Joshua Noom.
yeah, yeah. I mean, nothing in particular, man. Yeah,
Cool.
just thankful to be here, thankful to chat, and um, you're up in Michigan, right?
Yeah.
One of these days, I need to like get up there when I go see my wife's family, and you can show me a thing or two carving. That'd be fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Only
But
if you show me something. If you show me how to use the iPad correctly, it'll be a fair trade. Do
yeah,
you use the Streamline function?
what's that?
Is it called Streamline? Gosh, what is it? It's on the so on Procreate. If you go to like select your tool, I mean this was bad. I almost showed you some of my projects. All right, so if I go to the brush itself and the streak properties, like
Oh, okay.
Streamline,
Yeah, nah.
no, that's kind of horrible, isn't it?
I've literally used the same brush since the day I bought it. It's just one of the
Really?
ones on there. Yeah, I don't
What
mess around with that.
what is that brush?
It's just like in the ink. I think it's in the ink category. It's called like Studio Pen. It's like one of the stock ones. I just use that every time.
Come on,
That's what I'm
magical.
saying, man. Like, if someone throws a curveball at me, I'm a goner. Like, but yeah, same thing for everything. So, but yeah, man,
Amazing.
it'd be cool, man,
Let's do it.
to hang up there at one point.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let me know when you're around in town. You're always welcome.
Cool, man. I appreciate you.
All right, brother.
See
Thanks
you later.
again.
Yeah, anytime.
That was so good.